Well, hi everyone. Hi. How was lunch? Cool. Thank you everyone for preparing lunch. Food team. Yeah. Was feeling and telling Heather earlier, I don't have butterflies in my stomach. I have bees in my heart. And I didn't know I was going to fall in love with bees. I didn't know they would change my life and touch me so deeply. Kind of like what Darla was talking about, someone suggesting she might like Nia. There was a request for anyone who was interested in bees to perhaps help to bring bees to Grass Lake Sanctuary. And I was interested, and that interest really took me on a journey. A very surprising journey filled with miracles. Two really big miracles that I'll share with you today, and many of you are aware of them. Yes. So I wanted to start off with just getting a sense of how everyone feels about bees. When I started, I had an interest, but there was a little bit of probably fear. The first time I went out with some natural beekeepers that really were inspirational in getting me started and getting the bees here through a natural style of beekeeping in what they call top bar hive. I went out with them and to see their hive in the springtime, and they were standing maybe over here with a hive, and I stood back looking, and I made sure there was a little trail out of the woods. There wouldn't be any sticks I'd trip over if I had to make a run for it. So I just didn't know. I didn't know. So I wanted everyone just to take a moment and see how you feel about bees. And we're going to play a little audio for you to help you feel and tune in to maybe how you feel about bees. So you can close your eyes even if you want for a moment. Recall any stories you might have about bees, experiences, good or bad, that you may have had, that may have influenced how you feel today about bees. Maybe jot down a few words. If you have paper and pencil, jot down a few words of your experience or any feeling you have. What the noise now is bringing up for you. Phoenix might be a little uneasy around the bees. She has good reason to be. We have a story later. It might also be actually the way it's playing in the speakers. But she's part of the talk today. She has a small role. If she gets uncomfortable, where's Matthew? Matthew, we can pass her off to Matthew. But so that's why she's up here. So just a few words, how you feel about bees. And we're not necessarily going to go over those now, but if through the talk that changes, or maybe at the end of the retreat that changes, I would love to hear about it. Does it deepen? Do you feel more comfortable around them? Although the one thing I wanted to know, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0, no fear at all, you would be comfortable just opening a hive, putting your hand in there, feeding them, to maybe a 1 where 2, you're fine being close up, right where they're coming in and out. To a 10, I'll stay 20 feet away. Thank you very much. So where are you on that number line? So who's a 0? Who feels super comfortable? They've maybe had experience with bees. Patty, I know she's been up close with them. Yes. Any 1s or 2s? Great. Lots of bee comfy people. 3s, 4s. 4s. 5, 6s, maybe you'd be 5 or 6 feet away from the hive. You're okay. 7, 8s. Getting a little more uncomfortable, just maybe from experiences in the past or for whatever reason. Just any 9s or 10s. 9s or 10s. Okay. So I would love, any feedback later after the talk. Also, during break after this talk, I will go up to the Beeline Lane, which, if you're not familiar with it, on the exit road out of the sanctuary, right past the parking lot, on the right-hand side are 2 bee homes. The Top Bar home, which was our first home, looks kind of like a small doghouse up on a platform, and the big whiskey wine barrel, also now filled with bees. And it's lovely to go visit them. I didn't think I could get this many people in that close. But if you want to go see them, it's really fun now to take the observation, to look through the observation window on the Top Bar hive, because the bees have now built their comb horizontally, which they're technically not supposed to do in beekeeping. You're supposed to manage and pull these frames out individually. But I kind of let them, I wanted to see just which way they would go and how they want to build their comb, and they work with airflow as well. But the fun part about it is that the comb is facing sideways, so you can see into the individual cells and how the individual cells are tilted just slightly upward so the nectar doesn't run out. It's just so amazing, their construction. So you can really get an appreciation. You can see the beginnings of nectar being put in the cells. And it's shiny and beautiful. And so they secrete an enzyme from their bodies with the nectar of the flowers. They come and get water from the pond. I have a video of the bees getting water on the pond's edge. And they take it back and fan to keep the hive cool. They also fan to evaporate the moisture from the honey. And when it's just right, they'll cap it over. And it's sealed. And they found honey that is preserved in Egyptian tombs. It lasts forever. Yes. And you can see this now. You can see some of uncapped honey and some capped honey. So it's just, it's a treat every time I look at it. They're gems. Beautiful. So the title of my talk was Sitting with the Bees, Relaxing into the Rhythm of Nature. And for me, that title just came in. And I have a blog, a lot of you know, Breakfast with the Bees, and you can check it out. It's now, you don't have to do the whole blog spot at the end. It's just breakfastwiththebees.com. And you can follow along with the journey of the bees at Grass Lake Sanctuary. I've had a lot of fun with that and still learning, and I'd like to learn how to, if I had an iPhone, to take pictures, video in the moment, and upload it, and maybe learn how to do Twitter so you can get the bee story firsthand. So relaxing into the rhythm of nature. I guess if you have a fear of bees, sitting around bees is not so relaxing, but I wanted to talk about what rhythm is. So I'm like, what is that? That just came in so easy, but what is the word rhythm and why is it relaxing? So I like to look up the definition of things, and working with the definition of rhythm, is the movement or activity with uniform or patterned recurrence of beat, accent, etc. And I think the pattern, the movement, and having a pattern there, and just feeling into the different patterns of nature, and repetition. And I remember after the first swarm arrived, and you'll see a little bit about this for those of you who don't know the story. When the first swarm arrived, I couldn't have been happier 3 days later when I saw the bees coming out of the entrance hole. Just a few of them. What a sight to see. They were happy. They were doing their work. And now when I go and sit with them, all is well when the bees are doing their work. And they're so busy, I'm busy as a bee. But it's without chaos. And there's so much change. That was kind of funny about the rhythm of nature too, the rhythm and having a patterned kind of movement, repetition, a relaxation amongst all of the change. I felt that current underneath. So I just wanted to do a little visual exercise here and have you, I think you can keep your eyes open or closed, and tune in to a rhythm of nature that might be familiar to you. And a couple of examples might be raindrops on a steady rainy day on the roof of your home and how that feels in your body. A cricket chirping in the evening outside your door, steady chirping. How your body feels. One of my favorites, the bullfrogs. Womp, womp, womp. And as you feel any of those rhythms, switch over to the rhythm of a workday for you. Yesterday, the day before. The rhythm of your life. Just feel if you can tune into the rhythm of your life. Are they the same or different? The two rhythms. And if they aren't exactly the same, if they're a little bit different, try to bring them together. The rhythm of nature and the rhythm of your life. Visualize them coming together in the center of your body. And just breathe in that space for a moment. Okay. You can all open your eyes. And at the end of the talk, there will be a small exercise where we go out and experience, I won't tell you what it is, but we'll also add rhythms. And throughout the weekend, if you come across any rhythms of nature, patterns, maybe there's a visual pattern of the leaves that's just relaxing to your body, write it down. And maybe make a list that you put on your fridge or somewhere of all the patterns, the relaxing rhythmic patterns in nature. So I'd like to share the first video now, and then I'll talk a little bit about that story. And I wanted to show these videos because I think they're just a great synopsis, especially if you don't know the story, but even if you do, of the bees coming to Grass Lake Sanctuary and the miracle, really, that has taken place with their presence here. She might be giving direction. Typically, they said if they are here this late, they're here to spend the night. But if you see them doing the waggle dance, it means they found a place and they're ready to move in. Snip the branch. I'm going to lower you gently and see what you tell me. If I can just kind of shake you off the branch. Are you my practice bee? I can practice shaking you off in there. Thank you. So is it like, kind of like that?
Wow.
Okay, that was helpful, thank you. Okay, girls, here we go. This is going to take a bit of a cut from me, and I guess we're going to shake you off in there. We'll see what you want. Girls, you're so good. Oh, gosh. Darlings. So I think this is your new home, girls. I'm going to take some little pieces out here. Okay, here we go, girls. I'm going to do a quick shake. Let me feel what it feels like. We're just gonna, there's your home, darlings. And I'll come along and give you more space. Sweethearts. We're gonna close you up. Listen to you girls. You have home started here. You need us to pull you out gently. Yes, you have an entrance there. How wonderful you've been to work with. Tell me what you need. You tell anybody here. Darling, we're going to put this in here now. Can you scoochie over? Scoochie. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Hi, Queenie. Hi, Queenie. I hope you like your new house. Yeah, we'll cover you up. Thank you for showing yourselves to Tom. come back in the next few days with a cover. I understand you guys, girls, might like a cover on here. So I'm going to do that. There you go. I was ready to take the hive up to a place about an hour north of here, and he would, if he got a swarm, he'd put it right in here for us. But I thought, let me ask Roger and Richard one more time if they could get one and bring it out. So I'll share a little bit about that. Truly a miracle. Truly a miracle. The sanctuary purchased the hive with some donations, had it built for us. I deliberated land and hose on where to put it, several different locations. Finally chose the Beeline Lane area. It did not have a name at that point, with the entrance facing east, southeast, so they get the sunrise. So set the house up on its platform, and I just didn't know where the bees would come from. Where are we going to get bees? We could order them. They're kind of expensive to order from the south, but that would be a way. And I just didn't, something about that, I'm like, I don't know. They're used to the south. I don't know if they'd make it through the Michigan winters, and they're raised in a different way. Boy, wouldn't it be great if we could get a swarm on the land? And several years earlier, I don't know if any of you were here then, I was standing in the parking lot. There was a number of people up in the driveway, and a bee swarm came overhead. And, oh, what is that? Oh, it's a bee swarm. And they were actually in flight. And I don't know at that point that I really knew what a bee swarm was, but somehow intuitively. And I've never forgotten that's a good sign. There's bees around here. And maybe. So I sent out an email to as many people as I could. If you see a swarm and it looks like this with some YouTube pictures, call me. And I just watched YouTube and other people capturing swarms, and I knew they're very friendly in the swarm state, so I'd heard. And they don't have honey stores or a home to protect. So I wasn't sure, but I said, I can do that. I can do that. So sure enough, on a Tuesday night, Tom Mansell is weed whacking on one of the trails about 500 yards from where we placed the hive. And he sees, oh, that's like Molly's picture, right? That's a bee swarm. And calls someone, and someone sent someone else to get me out by the mailbox. And I'm thinking, really? Seriously? Could it be? I had a couple false alarms where people had seen a cluster of bees. Really? I'm getting all nervous. That's it. Oh my gosh. And what I learned from that, I learned a lot from that night. And there were a lot of miracles. It was a miracle that Tom and Tamara happened to be there. They're the tech team, and they got the pictures on their cell phone. That was a miracle. That Tom was weed whacking on that particular trail, that we were all here on a Tuesday night, and that the bees were so communicative. I wasn't really sure, so you heard me talking to them. And not one who necessarily hears voices or anything. I don't know, but they were giving me a clear signal. Yes, we're ready. Shake, shake. Like, that's what that practice bee getting on there so I could, and that was really helpful to do that little shake so I knew what the motion was. So all of these pieces coming together created this birthing, which really, if anyone saw me that night, I think would agree, I was glowing. I've never given birth to a child, but I just felt like a real birth. It felt like a birth to me and a miracle. And I've been saying since that the bees have changed my life because of that. So I was trying to answer, how have they changed my life? And They've given a lot, but the sense of connecting to something deeper, call it the miracle, something bigger, something unexplainable, but the knowing, the following many, many fishing lines for any interest. And this one took me to a place in my heart and my being that just feels so steady. And so that's how they changed my life. They've given me a constant. And if that wasn't enough for the miracles, and I'm still learning their voice, what I hear from them when they tell me, and it's that intuitive knowing that Brenda talked about. I think tapping into that. I still have little doubts that come in, but the bees constantly tell me that they're all right, something, they give me some information. And if that one miracle wasn't enough, we had a second one this year. Truly, it would have been nice, I thought, if we could get another swarm. What are the chances? Well, they're pretty good. It was a really prolific spring with bee swarms. What is the chance of us getting our swarm? What is the chance of me or someone being on the land when they do swarm? And what they do when they swarm, the colony decides they're going to expand. They create a new queen, which is another amazing miracle in itself, by just feeding one of the worker eggs more royal jelly. It becomes a queen. And it lives 4 to 6, and I just read the other night, up to 7 years a queen can live. Where a worker bee might live 3 to 4 weeks in the summer. The same egg be fed. The royal jelly is made of nectar or honey and pollen and an enzyme secreted from the nurse bee's head. Royal jelly. And you may have heard of all the healing properties of royal jelly and people using it. Many, many miracles. And the bees are filled with them, their colony, their beings. So the colony, when they need to expand, they'll build a new queen. They'll make a new queen. And then the old queen will leave the hive with a bunch of followers. And I don't know how they decide who stays and who goes. And she flies up, and you'll see in the next video, I got to experience, I was here in the moment that they swarmed from our hive. And what an experience it was to walk into a cloud of bees in their expansion, in their birthing, another birthing. So I'll let the video tell a little bit more of the story. Again, to Tamara for putting this together. She took snippets of pictures and video.
June 14th of
Fabulous
last year,
job.
we had our first bee swarm here at Grass Lake. Just happened to have the top bar house all made up for the bees and ready to go in. And here we are a year later, similar situation. The bees that we put in the house last year, they made it through the winter, and they were growing in numbers, and bees, it seems generally, will swarm if they're healthy. Today, I just had the sense to come out to the land. I wanted to check on the bees. And I hear this buzzing. It was just a loud, it was almost earth rumbling, just this heavy bee buzzing, like the bee was right there in my ear. And I walked down to the hive, our original hive, and gosh, there's just this cloud of bees. It seemed like they were all collecting in a branch about 20 feet from the hive and about 20 feet off the ground in a maple tree. climb up to the top, and it was still another body length standing on the top rung of the ladder to where the branch that the bees were on. And she went up to the top. Of course, none of us have veils on. Tamara's up there at the top in her regular dress, right there face to face with the bee swarm, loving it. They're just beautiful, beautiful creatures. And she was able reach up, cut that branch. The branch was only about an inch, maybe inch and a half thick. Cut it a little bit and just lower it gently, making little cuts to where I was standing on a second ladder. The bees were not after her at all. They were really just swarming around their group. They were quite friendly. We stood with a branch of bees over the barrel, just really appreciating these creatures. Turned the branch vertically, tapped the bottom of the branch on the bottom of the barrel, and they all fell in. Really amazing to work with them in this swarm state because they are so gentle. From what I understand, they have nothing to defend a home or honey, so it's a very safe time to work with them, and really quite a privilege, I feel, for all of us to have been out here amongst them. So we'll see tonight and over the next few days if they decide they like this. There's a lot to know about beekeeping. There's a lot you could read out there about what to do and what not to do in beekeeping, and there's differing opinions. Somehow with these bees, I'm content to learn from them and have them teach me. They have a lot to share, and that is kind of a hard thing to put into words. Trying to learn to listen. So I've learned a lot, and people ask me, when are you going to get honey from the bees? And I'm like, gosh, I haven't even gotten to that part yet. I feel like I'm on page 1. It's been a year, I'm still on page 1, and that's okay. Just sitting with the bees and learning from them. And I could be on page 1 the rest of my life. I don't know. When I get to the chapter on honey, I'll let you all know. I'm really happy that I was here again to be able to feel the swarm on Mother's Day.
I'm dying to see inside there. I would love still, I've been wanting to stop at a camera shop, if anybody knows of one, and get a fiber optic camera, because if you notice how small the first swarm was, and the first swarm was interesting. It was probably what they call a secondary swarm, spawning. It was later in the season, mid-June, so it was kind of iffy whether it would make it through the winter. They prefer it's good to get a swarm or start housing a new colony early spring in May. Then they have the time to collect the nectar. The nectar is what gives them the fuel to build the comb, which is really fascinating. Again, the worker bees secrete from the nectar. They create wax cells that come out their belly, and they build the 6-sided cells. And it's the sturdiest structure in physics, and it's the most efficient structure for any space. You can create the most containers with that shape. So there's a whole thing around that 6-sided cell. So getting the swarm early, they have time to build the comb, collect the nectar, honey, build up their colonies for the winter. So that first swarm, I was really concerned over the winter, and a lot of you know I was feeding them and packed them in straw bales to keep as much wind off of them so they wouldn't have to go through their honey stores. And so this time, the barrel was, that's the whole story, is just a miracle in itself. As you drove in, you probably saw, well, first of all, Lana's creation of the bee girl when you come down the hill and turn the corner, and that's your welcoming to Beeline Lane, BG Lane, it's had several names. And thank you, Lana. That makes me smile, that bee girl. And then you'll see the bee observatory, and that was being built early this spring, and it wasn't quite finished. And I knew the mother hive. I went over to see them. In fact, the day the second swarmed, I came here and I went over to the mother hive, and they were bursting I was like, oh boy, can you hold on? It's like 9 months, 2 weeks. We're not quite ready with the house, and the nursery, it's not ready. And but I happened to have this whiskey barrel was sitting down here at the cabin, and Wendy helped me put it in my car the week before, and I took it home and washed it out. And I brought it with me. I was going to leave it here, hoping one of the guys maybe could cut windows and make kind of a bee house out of it. So when I was standing at the bee observatory talking with somebody on the phone, and I heard the buzz. I knew what was happening. It was like going through the ground. I could feel it in my body, the swarm of bees. I got to go walk down, and at first I was like, gosh, you're swarming. Oh my gosh. I had a little bit of forlorn that we didn't have a house for them, and I was a little concerned, but then just the beauty and the magic of standing in the middle of that swarm. I wished I had stood there longer, but I wanted to go get my camera so I could get a picture of it. But I won't forget that feeling. And I came back and got the camera, and I just didn't know. I didn't know that we would even get the bees that day. I thought, well, it's beautiful. I feel blessed that I was here to see you swarm. And I thought, I don't know what to do. I'll take a walk. And I thought, well, I'll call Tamara and Tom because they were here for the last one, let's just say. Oh, yeah, we just got back from shopping. We'd love to see the bees. We'll come out. And I think I called Carl, trying to find a ladder because Janice had a 6-foot ladder in her garage, but they had all congregated 20 feet in the tree. How am I going to... I don't know. And so I pulled the barrel out of my car. It happened to be with me. I set it up. I'm like, well, I don't know. Called Joe. He happened to be on his way to the land with an 8-foot ladder. Great, that gets us a little closer. And I remember climbing up to the ladder, and I'm standing on the last rung with my shins up and with the loppers. I can't reach. I hear Tamara down below saying, I think I can do it. I can do that. Okay. Go at it. And she did. She stood not on the top step, on the top of the ladder. The girl has got balance with the loppers. Cut through that branch, lowered it down. Miraculous. And at one point, a clump of bees fell off, and I jumped off my ladder. The two guys, and Tamara's up there. Guys? But so cool and comfortable with the bees. And I looked up there at her, feeling a little bit bad that we left her there. But I noticed they aren't after her at all. They're not darting after her. So it was fine. So that we got the bees down, a team effort. It was truly. And then I didn't know if they would like the barrel. They don't like drafty spaces. They like kind of tight spaces. So I had fixed it up with some things I found on my walk and made a little cozier for them. And 3 days later, and now months later, they seem to be very happy in there. So I would imagine with as many bees that were in that swarm to start off that they have a lot of comb bill. I would love to see in there. Yeah. So again, another miracle, another birth.
What would happen if you took the lid off? To look?
Well, I put What would happen if I took the lid off? I put some cedar shingles. They were doing some work on the Elu, cedar siding, and there's a pile of shingles. So when I was walking by, I'm like, oh, these might help cozy up the barrel. So I laid them, and so I essentially brought the floor of the barrel up so it would be cozier, and then I laid them slats, kind of like the top bars in a top bar house, over the top of the barrel, thinking maybe I would check on them like you would a top bar. Pick these. You saw me putting the bars back in the video. But then I put also handy pieces of plywood, circular plywood, just happened to be there. Great. Put that on top of the cedar shingles so it made a nice roof. So now I think they have propolized. You can see they've propolized, which is like they get it from the tree resin. So it's like pine sap, but they do something to it to make it so tasty. It's just a lovely all-day treat if you get a drop of propolis. But they use it to seal up, and now who knows which direction they've built their comb. So I don't want to disturb them.
So your camera would go in the hole?
And I think in the fall when they get less busy, there's so much traffic there now, I don't know that I'd want to do that, but when they settle down, I could go in with a camera if I can find one. They taught me about miracles. And lessons. Learned a lot of lessons. I wanted to share some today. It was fun. I'm just going to throw a little something in here. I was walking around the pond earlier, right before the talk started, feeling nervous, and I came upon Lana. And created a fun little exercise. So I don't want to forget to do it, but I was trying to feel the right spot, and I think I'm going to see if it fits in here, and this is just a reminder. That's a reminder to do the exercise. It was fun. It made a difference. Oh, let's do it now. It was fun. Let's do it now. How do you feel? Well, I know that we hugged. She said, "How are you doing?" or something. She bzzz, and I bzzz, or we both bzzz together, and we could feel the bzzz in each other's body bzzz, and resonated. I was like, "Gosh, it took my nervousness away. That was amazing. That was just so much fun." And I don't know that bzzing on my own does that. So, anytime you want to connect with someone, just bzzz, I don't know. Lessons. Yes, Sophia?
Clucking like a chicken has the same effect. And it works when I'm on my own.
Cluck, 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 Thank you. So that's interesting. So it's sounds of nature to lighten things up, to resonate with others. Probably bird songs. We could really have a fun time. Just go off on a roll here with those. But barking like dogs, howling. Ooh, howling. Yes. Okay. Lessons: moving consciously, observing neediness, and breathing in relationship. The bees are, well, you do need to move slower around them. They can sense. I think a lot of animals really can sense us, but the bees almost force you to be really conscious and aware. And I have a little story around that. I've put most of my stories on my blog, if not all of them. I don't know whether this one made it because it was kind of embarrassing. And I learned. So they're very sensitive to smells, to colognes or perfumes. So they say not to wear a lot of heavy perfumes or colognes around them. And I knew this. And I would even be careful, with lavender bug spray or any bug spray like that. I just wouldn't go up to them with that smell on. And I'm cautious with other people, just check. But last year, as you know, and we've been blessed this year without the mosquitoes, but last year they were so intense. And I couldn't even go sit with the bees because they would just, for a couple of weeks, I just couldn't sit, last year for 2 seconds without getting bitten up. And the one day, I don't know where I was, but I was here on the land by the bees, and I just was like, I'm going to go see the bees. And I doused myself with lavender peppermint because I'm going to sit there and not be bothered by the mosquitoes. And I doused Phoenix with the spray, and we walked up to the hive like we usually do, and I sat down, and Phoenix is usually right here, and I look over. And have you ever seen metal filings attracted to a magnet? All of a sudden they go ding, ding, ding. I looked over and they were tracked on her, and I grabbed her, ran, I'm brushing them off, I'm dragging her out into the road. They're still coming after us, they're after me. I did not feel that, I did not get stung. I was sure she did. Her tail was between her legs. They chased us all the way up the hill to Janice's house. And Phoenix has had an allergic reaction to bees before, so I was very concerned, and I went into the emergency first aid kit and got Apis, which is a homeopathic. And the Apis worked in the past beautifully with her, so I administered the Apis. And the odd thing was, I think it was a Saturday. It was some event going on here. Nobody saw us. Nobody saw that. And I thought, thank goodness, because that would be pretty embarrassing, the beekeeper running up the hill being chased by the bees. So that was a lesson of, where was I? I wasn't conscious. It's something I knew. And I apologized profusely to the bees. The loss of life, when they sting, they die. And to poor Phoenix, apologized for months after. I still apologized to her. And it took her some time. But amazingly, and to her credit, to come back to the hive, she obviously did not want to go anywhere near there, but I would just put a little blanket about 20 feet away from the hive and come over here. And now, a year later, she's fine. She trots right up to the hive and hangs out, and she knows it was a mistake. So, moving consciously. And even anytime I'm up there, I can feel an impulse I get really close and, it's so cool, I want to see that. I'm taking a lot of pictures, and I need to be aware. And usually one of them lets me know. And they let you know if they're going to come after you. You can sense it, kind of like in a dog. But generally, they're busy doing their own thing. You're not instigating anything. They're foraging flowers. They're coming into their home. Observing neediness. This was something interesting that came up with the bees. You know how, does everybody know when you feel a little bit needy? And maybe it's with a partner or someone you live with, you're just like, you want some acknowledgement, you're feeling a little down, you need something. Do you ever notice it taking it from your animals? This is where it came in. Oh, Phoenix, you look so cute. You're sleeping. Well, that doesn't matter. Oh, kissy, kissy. Oh, you smell so good. And, oh, that feels good. I feel better because I'm grounded. Oh, I just took from her. Versus giving her energy. And my cats are a little less tolerant of it than Phoenix, of course. And you know, those of you who have cats and dogs. And sometimes she'll walk away if I'm needy. But I realized it with the bees the other day. They are there, and they're so beautiful, and the honey smells so good. And they're so cute, and I think they look like little teddy bears. And I just want to put my face up and rub. I want some of that. I want what they have. I could feel the needy wanting something. And you can't with bees, or, you know, maybe there's a way I could. But it forced me to, so I sat back and took a breath. And I was amazed at, I guess, the relaxation in my system without taking from them that centeredness. I became recentered with the breath. It just took a moment to be aware. And I appreciated the bees for holding me to that space. Whereas the cats or the dogs, sometimes I can get away with being needy. So I really appreciate the gift that the bees are giving in that sense as well. And I'm looking at the time. Time flies, so they say. You're having fun. I'm having fun up here. So the neediness felt important. So I invite you all to close your eyes for a moment and recall a time when you've been needy. Could have been an hour ago or this morning. Standing across from somebody or something, animal, some being, having a sense of, maybe you weren't aware in the moment, but you can go back now and feel that, oh, I just need a little acknowledgement. I need some of your juice to feel better. And just create that moment you're standing there. Feel yourself moving toward taking. And now step back. Visualize yourself stepping back, taking a deep breath, maybe a few, and just breathing. Can you come back into yourself with the breath? Do you get nurtured by the breath? Can you make that shift into receiving from the air, from the breath, that what you needed in the other being? And I invite you to explore that this weekend. And I will do so myself with my animals and those I come into contact with. Worry, not knowing and knowing. I tend to be a worrier about my animals, and I'm still working on the worry. Worry. Thumb. Worry. Yeah. So thank you. I can actually work on, when I'm worried about the bees, I was worried about them all winter if they would make it. I was worried when I saw them, a pile of bee larvae at the entrance last fall on the ground. Oh my gosh. And they're dragging out larvae and dropping it. They've got chalk brood. They've got this horrible disease called chalk brood or something. Oh my gosh, there's something wrong. What did I feed them or not feed them? And you guys probably know that with animals or children. Oh. And I called a couple of beekeepers, and they assured me that it did not sound like chalk brood, that it was probably just the worker bees dragging the drones out in the fall because they're no longer needed. And I knew they kicked out the drones in the fall, and I had seen the workers literally. The drones are the boy bees. They're a little bit bigger than the girls. They do not sting. The drones don't sting. They don't feed themselves. They rely upon the worker bees to feed them. Their sole purpose is to mate with the queen. Once. 200 to 300 feet up in the air. And then they die. What an amazing job they have. So I was glad that it was not chalk brood. But I have to say, this year I had the idea that maybe I would build a little house and collect all the drones that were being kicked out of the house. And maybe overwinter them and try to feed them myself. I don't know what that would do to the bee population, but the thought crossed my mind. A home for all the wayward drones. But it was just fun to feel the not knowing and where the bees were going to come from, the not knowing if we were going to have the right house for them. So there's been a lot of not knowing around the bees. There's a lot I don't know about beekeeping. There's a lot I don't know, but I'm really enjoying savoring the gems that I keep coming across. And then learning about knowing, that intuition, that voice, that sense that everything is okay. And so they've been very instrumental in showing me these things, reassuring me these things. Moving through fear. This is a big one. So I was feeling pretty comfortable throughout the fall, last fall. I did worry about what to feed them. What do you feed bees? I read about sugar and honey, and I want to give them the right nutrients, and so I worked that out with a bee tea and honey, even though it wasn't their honey. You can read a lot in books that might steer you one way or the other. But I really liked, someone said it, Brenda, and then maybe Darla referred to it, being, if you're in relationship, there's health. Brenda said that. If you're in relationship with the earth, she's healthy. You can build a sidewalk on the earth. She likes that. It's relationship about how to get around. So that really resonated with me, that as long as I'm in relationship with the bees, I'm trying, I'm asking, I'm observing, they're okay. So, yeah, it felt like it was okay whatever I feed them. In January, they were running low. Their volume was getting down, so the queen stops laying eggs for about a month or so, and she stays in a huddle with the bees around them all winter, around her, and they take turns being on the outside. It's amazing. They do cleansing flights. So in the middle of the winter with snow on the ground, if it gets above 50 or so, it's a nice mild day, they'll go out and poop or pee. They won't go in their house. And I actually got to see this. It was pretty cool. There was one out on the straw bale, and it was kind of doing it abdominal thing. And I'm like, is it dying? Is it on its last legs? Oh, it's pooping. So I got to see him do the cleansing flight. The cleansing flight, I thought it was kind of, they drop it in midair, and then it went back in. I was like, thank you. I got to experience a cleanse, and they won't go in their house. So, back to moving through fear. Again, kind of unconscious, I had an agenda to go in and feed them this jar. I open up the house. I put the jar of, it's honey and chamomile and nettle tea to help boost their immune systems. There's other herbs you can put in there as well. But I was kind of in a hurry. It was cold. I didn't want to let a lot of cold air into the hive, but I wanted to get the jar of honey upside down on 2 pieces of wood so they can go under, and it has holes in it. They can drink from that. And I went in and I got stung. Okay, my first sting, I wondered when I was going to get stung. Maybe, I was thinking maybe never. Index finger, fear. I didn't know that until now. I knew I was working with something having gotten stung other than, okay, it also felt like a little ping. I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad, and it was a wet day. I put some mud on it. And I wasn't finished. I had to go in again, and I still wasn't quite slowed down enough. And ping, ow, that one really hurt, ouch. On my middle finger, anger. Put some mud on it. I'm like, gosh, I went in to go, I'm like, I'm afraid to go in now. I'm afraid to put my hand in there. And the hive was all open and everything. I'm like, I can't leave them exposed. And I thought that day and even days to follow, if I have to sit here all day long, I'll have to sit here all day long until I feel comfortable. And the feeling of it was waiting, feeling, yes, I can take a step forward. It was a long process. Waiting, feeling the fear, talking to them. But eventually, I was able to get the honey in, close it up. And that process went on probably for 2 or 3 more months. And I still have to say, sometimes I have a little flinches. I really have to be slowed down. You cannot have an agenda about going in and doing something with them. And it applied to my life because there was something happening out in the community. I had to go interact in business with a businessman somewhere, and I could feel the fear around him. I didn't feel quite comfortable in this atmosphere. And I was like, oh, that's the same feeling I had with the bees. Isn't that interesting? So I just gave myself a moment. It seemed kind of like a long moment, but no one seemed to notice. To just be with the fear, using the breath, becoming centered again in who I was, to be able to step forward and be present in whatever that situation was. So I just thought that was interesting that the bodily fear felt the same no matter the situation. And having gone through it with the bees, I was familiar with the feeling and could try it again. So to veil or not to veil? Why wouldn't I just wear a headdress and bee suit, go in, do what I need to do, take combs out, that'd be a lot easier. I wouldn't have to worry about being stung. And I might still get a veil. I thought I would have gotten one last year, and then this first swarm came along. I'm like, well, don't have one. Let's see what happens. So it's still, I'm not sure, but I feel that the having a cover gives the license to manipulate, or perhaps gives me a little more freedom not to move so consciously. It would be too easy. So for now, anyway, I like to practice moving consciously. And I just don't know where that's going as far as my work with the bees in the future. And I think the veil can apply to life as well. You can kind of feel ourselves putting a veil over, not being who we really are, not being conscious in relationship. Versus, whoop, oh, hi, how are you? You know, I think we all know when that veil is up or down. So again, another great learning lesson. And I'm moving kind of fast here because it looks like I have 3 more minutes. And there is one special gift that I really wanted to share with you that I've received from the bees. And perhaps the exercise you can do on break or sometime during the weekend. They give a lot of gifts, of course. A lot of products we're all familiar with. Some maybe more than others. Honey, obviously. Propolis with healing properties. Royal jelly. Pollen. Wax for candles. Mead, a kind of beer. And even their venom for apitherapy, for healing. But I have to say, I was sitting, I noticed this last year, but sitting there the other day, I was reminded of the wonderful fragrance coming out of the hive. It's more than a fragrance. It feels like the essence of the earth. And the word sensual came in. This honey, this deep essence. And I did try yesterday just to see, I have 2 jars of honey, or was that this morning, to smell them, and it's not the same. Something happens in the processing. There's something coming out of that hive that's deeply moving, connecting. And the word sensual came in. So I looked it up. Preoccupied with the pleasures of the senses, of or pertaining to the body rather than the mind. So it felt how appropriate to be so connected to the body and to the earth. And then feeling what that is in there that's coming out, the energy of the flowers. The nectar from the flowers. The sun providing energy for growth. The earth and all her wonderful elements. The water. The air that carries the flight and the flow. Sensual. Like nothing else. Just want to drink it up. And that's the deep connection I think we all yearn for. And I've heard this before, other people have used it, sense you all. The oneness. So God bless the bees for their gifts and for the earth and all the elements. So I wanted to invite you, we're out of time now, but to perhaps take a walk using your senses. And for me, the nose is so powerful. And I get a similar sensual, could just drink it up feeling at the crossroads of Parker and Scioto Church, the swamp that many of you know. How many people stop and roll down their windows and just want to drink it up? So, explore the sensual gifts that the earth has to offer. Sometimes going into the woods, the moisture seems to bring it out. That earth, digging up some moist earth. And the connection we might feel. So you can try that on your own. And one quote I felt very connected to, I heard a couple months ago from a local singer-songwriter, artist in town who puts the poetry of Rumi and Hafiz to song, Laz Slamovitz. Used this in one of his songs, "Let the beauty you love be what you do," by Rumi. I just felt really connected to the beauty of the bees. I don't know what that means exactly, but I could feel it in my heart. So I also invite all of you to tune in to the beauty that you love here at the sanctuary or anywhere. And let that be what you do. Thank you.